Basic Element Teaching Center hosted a senior expo and health fair today in Angelina County. East Texas News Weekend's Avery Gorman was there and has more about how this helps East Texas seniors.
Seniors and their families gathered today at the Church of Living God in Lufkin for a senior expo and health fair. Michelle Dixon with Basic Element Teaching Center says this is their first time hosting an event in Angelina County.
We've assembled some terrific professionals, everything from Medicare 101 to telecommunications assistance and things like that. And we're just hoping everybody enjoys themselves and takes something back into the community.
There were booths such as Assurance Therapeutic Outreach, who deals with mental health and emotional support along with different therapies. United Healthcare, who deals with senior benefits. World Financial Group to talk about financial literacy. Harbor Hospice to talk about their services, and Clear Captions with their house phones. Mike LeBlanc attended the event today and said he came to learn about Clear Captions.
I wanted to know more about that phone. It's a free phone for people who are senior citizens and who are hard of hearing. And I found out what I wanted.
Carolina Guevara is with Clear Captions, and she explains how the phone system works to each customer.
What I do is I install captioning telephones for the hard of hearing and the deaf. It is a federally funded program, and so it's at no cost to anybody who necessitates it.
Dixon says bringing education to services people in the community can use is the goal of the fair.
What we don't know, we don't know. And when we bring some more information into the family, which will filter into the neighborhoods, into the city at large, it's going to make us more aware.
Avery Gorman, East Texas News Weekend.
And they plan on having another event in Angelina County in the coming months.